And we are live on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM New Orleans and 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast. How cool is that? And we're being live streamed wherever podcasts live, my YouTube channel, etc. So we're not hard to find. To all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave parapeeps on this side of the veil, welcome. This is Father Shawn's Paranormal Ministry. I'm your host, Father Shawn Whittington. I'm an ordained Catholic priest with the United States Old Catholic Church. I'm a fully professed brother and abbot for the Old Catholic Benedictines of Immaculate Mary. I'm a team member with Society of St. Benedict and co-founder of GhostBegone.biz. And yeah, I was on Eli Roth Presents The Legion of Exorcists, which premiered on Travel Channel and is currently streaming everywhere if you didn't catch it. On everywhere that you can stream shows, it's there. So anything you want to know about my wife and I, it's all at our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. If you go there to visit, there's a lot of cool things to see. It's all there. My books, if you buy a book off the website, part of the proceeds of every sale of every copy of my books goes to support St. Jude.org, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, Nevada, and the ASPCA. So we've got the needy children and the needy animals covered there. My online course is there, Introduction to Spiritual Warfare, a place where you can make an appointment to speak with me about your spiritual issues. Most importantly, brothers and sisters, I know times are tough, but my wife and I don't charge for our ministry work. So if you go there to visit and you see the donate button and you're able to do so, click on it and send my ministry in a small donation. I promise you it'll be appreciated from the bottom of our hearts. And trust me, we'll put it to good use. We have a great show today, but you all already know that. That's why you tuned in. This is something we do the last Friday of every month, once a month. It's a little thing we called Happy Medium Monthly. And the star of that show is in the green room, and I'm going to bring her out here in a second. But first, I have to bring out my awesome co host. I've known her forever. I love her. I respect her. She's super cool. She's a lifelong paranormal experiencer. She's the owner of Stellium Books, and she's my publisher. So please welcome to the show, Annette Munich.
Hi, Father Shawn. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here. If we experience any interruptions, it's because a pretty significant storm is about to roll in here, and thundering and severe storm warnings and whatnot. So if I disappear, that's where I went. Okay. Hopefully I didn't make it all the way to Kansas. Hopefully It's just a little electric outage or something, but
I will pray for you.
Thank you so much.
I'm throwing good vibes your way.
Thank you.
I love having you here on this particular show, which is quickly becoming a fan favorite because I am terrible at monitoring the chat, and you do that beautifully. So thank you for that. If you have anything you'd like to throw out at the masses, now would be a great time, or I'm bringing out our guest.
I think we could get started with Susan right away. I have some really interesting things coming up, but nothing that I need to say today or any timelines for sure that I'm ready to say. So we'll keep that on the down low and bring Susan out and get started.
Alrighty, brothers and sisters, here she comes. I've also known her forever. I love her and respect her too. Of all these psychic mediums I've met in my lifetime, the truly gifted ones that have a hotline to God, I can count on two hands. She's one of those. She's got a huge fan following. She's coming to us live from Cape Cod. Please give a big, warm paranormal ministry family welcome to the happy medium herself, Susan Ahearn.
Hi, guys.
How you doing?
My two favorite people.
Aw, thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, thanks.
So nice to see you.
It is good to see you too. I hope we don't lose you.
Yeah,
hope not
I'm
either.
also hoping.
You throw out the rules, or do you want to do your?
Yeah, you do the rules. You do the rules good.
Okay, guys, Happy Medium Monthly. This is a day where Susan wants to give back to all her fans and followers. It's she's going to give free live on-air psychic reading here right now on this show. You've got to be tuning in live to one of the live streams where you can see us and you have access to the chat room. Just ask your question right there in chat. Annette will see it, and Susan will see it, and Susan will read it, and boom, she'll give you your reading. They're quickie reading, so no conjuring of spirit. Don't ask her to conjure up any relatives of yours. That's a different type of show, different type of energy. It takes a lot longer to do that. These are readings like ask about love, travel, health, money, things of that nature. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Does that pretty much sum it up, Susan?
That sounds good. I agree.
Okay.
We'll answer as many questions as we can.
Don't be scared, guys. I'm telling you, every month I do this show, sometimes we get quite a few people asking Susan questions. Sometimes we get nobody. But every time the show is over with, I get messages from people that are watching and say, oh my gosh, great show. I wanted to ask Susan a question so bad, but I just chickened out. Don't chicken out. She's not going to hurt you. We're all family here. It's all about love and light. So if you've wanted to ask a legitimate, truly gifted psychic medium a question, today's the day. And we got one right there.
And we got one.
All righty.
This
It
is
stuck
from
with me.
I'll shut up now.
my vlog Sunny 11. Susan, what I think it's supposed to be is, what is my future career wise?
Okay, let's look. Come on. All right. Well, I'm not quite sure if you're looking for. I'm just going to throw it with the card set. All right. So this is the sage. A lot of wisdom, old knowledge. You see, this could be a pharmacist, like a doctor, anything in the medical field. But it's also about, you can be writing, either writing a book. I'll pull it a little bit closer. So it's anyone that's it could be even a lawyer. So without having the person in front of me, it's kind of hard to say, but that's what this is about, the sage. It's about old knowledge, tapping into lots of information at your fingertips, whether, they didn't have computers back then, so it could be computers, it could be writing. That's what that's about. And then I got work. So if this is roughly about what you're doing and that's the direction you want to go in, there's also, so I'm pulling up law again. I don't know why that is, but there's this little way in the background, there's the scales. So that pulled forward again. What you do, whatever you do, you have the skills. You have the skills. You're good at what you do, but are you tired? That's almost like what it feels like. It's like, oh, it's time to switch up a little bit. I need to make it either fun and exciting or shift around within whatever your field is. But it's happening. You're good at what you do. Now we have to figure out if you're not applying yourself or you need to go a little bit further. So I hope that was helpful. I'm going to pull one more. Yeah, it's positive. I've got a positive vibe with this. So whatever your plan is, it's going to be okay. You're going to be good, which is always nice. When you've got the sun in your corner, you're good.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, like
That's
that.
a wonderful
Like
reading.
that.
That's very positive and very, just a good reading. I love that.
Yeah.
I have to apologize to you. I could have, I introduced you as the happy medium, and everybody knows you for that. But I could have easily said the production supervisor of the new groom thriller Stonegate,
Bossy.
Susan Ahearn.
Right here, bossy.
Did you catch did you, I know you popped in briefly when Daniel was here. Did
Mhm.
you catch Annette's story about some activity she experienced while watching the movie?
So that's been problematic,
Oh, really?
actually. Every time we do anything around the movie, and now that people are watching it, people are saying, just like you did in that you're watching the movie and then something supernatural kind of happens, something a little paranormal
Right.
outside the norm is going on when you're watching it. Now, people didn't, once we say that, people go, oh, now that you say that, this is what happened, or it
Right.
was so strange. I just didn't think it was, they're not making the connection, but we're getting a lot happening.
And I asked him before we went on air because some people would think that's great to say that happened, and other people would kind of be like, because some people, it might make them a little scared to watch the movie. Like what happened to me wasn't really scary. It was just a weird thing. It sounded like objects rustling around in the closet.
Yeah. And then there's no real explanation for it.
Right.
Like there's nothing over there.
And it never happened before, and it's not happened since. So
yeah, so interesting. So something, Daniel and I were doing something just last week, the other day, and so whatever I brought home hangs out in my basement. And so, and I think it's because the people, the lost souls, were stuck in the basement. So I wanted to get a little bit more information. So I was like kind of thrown out there, like, what is it about the basement? And my guide was telling me that they were stuck in the basement. It was kind of like their activity day. They would put them in the basement. And he's a big, big guy. That I'm seeing that followed me home is just kind of like a big, I don't want to call him an ogre because that's not very nice. He's just a big boy. He's a big boy, like 6'4" and just solid, like 300 pounds. And he is afraid of the dark, the poor thing. So I walk past my basement door to go to my bedroom. I always shut the light off in the hall. So, and then once I get to my bedroom, I turn the light on. So I would have seen light seeping out from underneath the basement door. You can't miss it. And so I know it wasn't there. Get into my room, watch a little bit of TV, scroll on the phone, and then get ready for bed. And I look down the hall, and there's the lights on in the hallway. I mean, in the basement, shining through. So I took a picture of it and sent to Daniel. I said, I can't, every time we talk about it or bring something, that's what happens. So one night the light was on. And so I get up out of bed, shut the light off, go back to bed. And then in the morning when I woke up, the basement door was open.
ooh,
And that's creepy.
no light.
Yeah, right? And that doesn't blow open. I mean, we even had a cat that we would leave the door open a crack and the cat would just go in and out. It was never like open. Like a full solid person went through it.
Right,
like,
yeah.
It's never happened ever. And I was like creeped out. I'm like, okay, now you're creeping me out. All right. But they just do the light now. They don't open the door, which is nice. So note to self, if something's happening in your home and you don't like it, or it's bothering you and you're trying to watch the movie, all you have to say is, hey, keep it down over there, and just that works. They're like, oh, okay, sorry. I just wanted your attention. So
you're going to have to just bite the bullet and either keep the light on there. Is it still happening?
Yeah, that would just happen like a few days ago.
Or you're going to have to buy a really cool night light to plug in down there.
Or you can tie
we could do that, the night light, yeah.
You can tie some blessed metals on the door handle.
Right? He just doesn't like being in the basement in the dark. And so I'm like, well, why are you in my basement? There's nothing scarier than my basement. Why are you down there?
You guys filmed the movie is about a hospital.
Correct.
And you filmed that there. It's an actual old historic site hospital where you guys filmed. Do you believe it's a former patient?
Oh, totally do. Yep, totally believe it's a patient. Sorry. And I wasn't, and so I was asking Daniel, I said, Daniel, what spots that you filmed? Because I wasn't there for all the filming. I would be on location, but I was like over, a half mile away because the place was like 800 acres at one point, so I'm like, I was in another building getting people ready and getting in costume and ordering lunch and blah, 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 and getting ready for the next moment so that all Daniel had to do was just get there and ta-da. And so I'm like, were we in a basement? Was there a something? Like, did it look like almost like a community area, like they would play? I'm like, it was horrible. It was dark. It only had like little basement windows. What he was showing me was like these little tiny basement windows shining in, and that's all they had. So if they wanted the light, they had to all stand in the light coming in the window. It was just horrible.
Wow.
So, yeah, poor guy.
We have another message from Sunny11, and she's saying, Susan, I am in limbo. How does one get clarification as to which direction to go towards? I guess that's what she was asking of what to pursue.
What direction? Okay. So what comes up is, I don't know if this is what they're already into, was anything with information. I feel like maybe they had been running. They could be very, when you pull the sage is just old knowledge. So we've got like, this is managerial position. These are people that take on responsibility. Even if they don't want to manage other people, they're given a sense of responsibility and they can work very well independently. The sage doesn't really like a lot of too many people around them. They like to work in alone, so that could be working from home. That's also a possibility. Not sure why the legal aspect keeps pulling back in, but there's that. And either it could be bookkeeping and numbers, like that's in that direction, in that aspect. So that's what I would say. But what makes you happy is most important. Like your guides can say, hey, you're really good at this. And you're like, yeah, but I'm kind of burnt out in that. Right. Then you have to sit and figure out what that is. What brings you joy, and knowing what dollar amount I need, because we're not just players in the game. We do get to say, hey, I'm tired. I don't want people in my basement anymore. I could say that. You know what I mean? Like and they'd be like, oh, sorry, we didn't know. So if we don't advocate for ourselves, even with our own guides, then you get to do that. And I think we don't think we can. And so you totally can. I need more money so that I can survive, because we pay electricity here. We need food here. I need transportation here and a roof over my head and everything inside it working. Don't forget to say that, because they'll give you a roof over your head. They'll give you a garage, so be specific. What makes you happy? Where do you see yourself? If I want to move, well, where do you want to move? Because you could move anywhere, but wouldn't you want to move where you want to be? And we have that power. The veil is so thin right now. And we just had a new moon. So we're in the beginning of a new moon. The new moon is about all possibilities. Creating something from the ground up. What do you want? And if you don't know what you want, well, sit with it and wait till next month. Or you're just like, any day is going to work. If you decide it and you feel it in your heart, I need a change. Okay, well, what does that take? Ask those questions.
I think that's really common with people, even myself sometimes, that I'm clearer about what I don't want than what I do want.
Yep. And sit down with a good friend, and you and I could sit down and I could ask you could ask me those questions and go, oh, you know what? Now that you say that, I didn't realize it. So you need a good person. You don't need lots of friends. You need just a very few really good friends, especially right now. The energy is a lot. The solar flares are a lot. So if you are feeling confused, drained, tired, not motivated, it's okay. Take that time.
It does seem like the pace of everything has changed. Where we were, things were slow. It was like walking through molasses. And then all of a sudden, like a light switch flipped, and now everything's speedy.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it is. And so if you're not feeling motivated at this moment in time, check in with yourself. How am I feeling today? Because every day is different. We've got the Schumann resonance is crazy. And we have the solar flares. We have Mother Earth. She's shaking and rolling and floods here and blah, 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 blah. So there's a lot going on on the planet. And it's not going to go away. It's only going to get worse. So you really need to take that moment. And if you don't have kind of like your personal go-to, your self-care regiment, you need to go do that. You need to check in, say, how am I feeling today? Oh, I'm not really feeling good. Okay. Take stuff off your plate that doesn't need to be there and cut yourself some slack.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyways.
Is the sound of the storm bleeding into the audio?
What is that? Because it sounded like whispering. I'm like, oh, that's kind of distracting.
Well, you can
cool.
see the show, not the show. You can
it is a show. I want to watch that show.
Rolling in right behind me. Wow. There's the storm and the rain's hitting the window, and I've got the window cracked a little so you could hear maybe a little whispering.
Yeah.
Or whistling noise.
It must be so hot if you have to keep the windows closed too, because you can't get any air.
You're not under a tornado watch or warning, are you?
No, just severe thunderstorm warning.
It sounds so cool. Love it.
I
have a question for you, Susan. It's not a personal one, a reading.
Raise your hand.
And Sharon.
Little boy, Shawn, little Shawn in the back. Go ahead.
And Sharon told me to tell you hi, and she's going to reach out to you for one of your special little private readings you guys do privately.
Yep.
But I want to ask you a question about, and I watched the movie a second time, and I loved, I had forgotten that there's that brief film clip in there of an investigation with mass hauntings. And I thought that was very cool that Daniel put that in the movie. But then I got to thinking, and I'm almost positive this was you, and if it wasn't, I apologize. But was it you that was either on the way to an investigation or on the way home from an investigation or actually at an investigation, and you just really felt something super odd about the place, and when you went to knock on the door or talk to the owner of the location, they looked at you and go, like, what are you doing here again?
No, that was not me. We've talked about this before. There was somebody else that had that happen to, and that wasn't me. Because that's pretty cool, because I was like, ooh, that's a good story. Yeah, it wasn't me.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I got to try to figure out who that was, because I want an update on that.
Right? I do too, now that I know the story. Yeah. So we keep saying the movie. The movie's STONEGATE, in case we didn't tell anybody that. It's still going through, Daniel's still sending it through the film festivals, and then he'll be in a position to be able to sell it to others or whomever. That's not my, I don't know what he does on doing all that. So
above your pay grade.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he mentioned last time we spoke that he was hoping that there'll be announcements in the fall as to places where people might actually be able to go to see it, which will be very cool. So yeah, STONEGATE, Daniel Groom. That's going to be. I loved it. Annette loved it. Don't be scared if you guys get out there, get a chance to watch it. You're not going to get haunted. And so what else did I
know that. I can't promise you that.
I'm trying to get people to go watch the movie. It's almost
well, someone will want to get haunted. Someone get that. That's dumb. That'll never happen. All right, watch it and then tell us. Then come on Shawn's show and tell me what happened to you.
It's like I'm careful about talking about my first book now, because I remember one time Annette said to me, way to sell books. Because I'm almost talking people out of buying the first book, because I had people.
Yeah, he's like a medicine commercial on TV. He spends 2 minutes talking you into it and 1 minute trying to talk you back out.
Totally. I had people calling me, reaching out to me that there's a picture of an apparition in that book. And that goes to show you how energy can attach to anything. But I put the picture of this entity in the book, and people have seen that entity in their homes after the book had arrived. But it's only the book that they buy off of the website that leaves my office here.
Where did I get mine? No, I think I bought it off of
Amazon.
So see, if I knew, I would have gone for the extra ghost. I mean, you can hang out with a guy in the basement. I don't care. It's getting a little. I'm going to start charging rent.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. I know a topic that you had brought up to me a
Mhm.
couple of shows back, and for whatever reason we never started talking about it. Then I've been researching it lately,
Mm.
and it's third man syndrome.
Yeah, third man syndrome. And all right, well, let's talk about third man syndrome. So, third man syndrome is when you have a traumatic situation. Usually, it's like a traumatic life or death accident or a fall or a plane crash. You've been in something. It doesn't have to be a plane crash, but it can be a something. And where a spirit guide or other people have said it's been their family member that had passed had come to them and said, either it's time to go, come with me, or it's time to they usually kind of help them out of the situation or lead them to safety and then go, oh, who was that? And the person just disappears. It could be an absolute stranger, so you don't really know. And the stories are amazing. If you want something interesting and you're running out of things to watch, that's definitely a cool situation to read up on. So what were you reading up on? What did you
Well, I,
find?
I just was fascinated. Well, as soon as I looked up the term
Hmm.
and I read the description of third man syndrome, I was instantly I thought, well, guardian angels, and but I was amazed at how many really truly famous people over many years have come forth and told stories about facing death and having this person, this entity,
Hmm.
presence, just a voice sometimes, show up and help them and help save their lives, brought them to safety or guided them in the right direction or what the case may be. And I did find it interesting that there were quite a few very well-known psychiatrists who believe in it.
Hmm.
Usually they people of science totally talk you out of that stuff, but
Right.
these were a group of them that believe in it, and they said something very interesting,
Hmm.
that it's what we put out during these extreme stressful situations like facing death,
Hmm.
being truly frightened out of your mind, and that total despair and anguish you feel, and you're facing death and you're scared. Wow.
Right on
Um,
cue. I love that.
that we conjure this up. We're not conjuring up something fake, but we are actually, this feeling coming off of us
Hmm.
has conjured this entity
Yep.
from wherever to come to us and help us. I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm still believe it's a guardian
No.
angel.
Yeah, because I've had it happen twice to me.
Well, that's what I
And
wanted to ask you. And you're
right.
a near-death experience survivor
Yep.
several times over. In any of those, I can't remember if you had told me that you experienced that in any of those situations.
Yeah, I'm going to put I don't know if I'll use both of those stories in my book that I'm writing, Shawn, finally writing it. Phew. But it just seemed like now is the time. All of a sudden I got the go ahead. It's kind of funny. Like all of a sudden my guide said, "Okay, come on, let's sit and write." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm doing it on my phone, just when it happens. So, but one of the times was when the ceiling fell on my head and I got knocked unconscious. And so I was working in my living room. I was replacing a soggy sheetrock around a skylight, and I was having a hard time finding contractors. And the guy said, "Well, if you can pull this sheetrock down, I'll go fix it for you. I'll put it up and I'll seal it right, and I'll be able to um, fix it." So I said, "Okay, fine. I'll get that much done." And the person who actually built the house didn't do they cut out a whole bunch of stuff and shortcuts, and didn't use enough screws, didn't even use the what do you call the wood that goes into strapping? didn't even have it on strapping. There was no strapping. So anyways, so when I went to cut it, I was looking for certain landmarks. I didn't see them. And then my cord got caught on the ladder because it's a cathedral ceiling. So I'm up there and my cord got cut and I turned to look. And just as I turned to look, the sheetrock came down and I saw it out of the side of my eye like something's coming at me. And at that moment, it knocked me off the ladder and I landed on my feet. I don't know how. If I was looking straight on, it would have knocked me out the window. I wouldn't have been able to land. It would have
Wow.
tilted me out. But I was lucky I was sideways. And I realized at that moment, I said, oh, this is bad. I've got 2 seconds to grab my phone and get out of the workspace that I was in and get into the hallway. And because it was in the living room, I had it like a kill room. It was plastic sheets just from the ceiling to the floor. I was able to get, so if you looked in the house, you wouldn't have seen me. I wouldn't have answered because I was knocked unconscious. I could have sat there forever and it would have been horrible. But anyways, that did not happen. But when I was lying there on the floor, I figured I'm going to lie down before I fall down. And I passed out. And at one point I came to, I said, okay, I'm doing good. I'm going to lift my head up. Not knowing, because you don't know how long you've been out until you get to see a clock. I go, oh, I've been out a while.
Wow.
The first time was a half an hour. And when I lifted my head, the world started spinning and I passed out again.
Wow.
And the second time, my mother showed up. And all I could hear was her voice. I couldn't see her. And I'm lying there on the floor and I've got my eyes open, but I was afraid to lift my head up because I didn't want to do that again. Didn't work good the first time. So she said, I'm feeling around my head to make sure I have one. And I'm looking at my hand and there was no blood. And I said, okay, that's a good sign. And my mother said, look, you're not bleeding. Get up. And that's what she always used to say. We'd come in and say, Mom, I got hurt, or my sister punched me, or are you bleeding? And we would say, no. And she said, well, then you're fine. Go out. Keep going. And so that was kind of the thing. And she said, and I just kind of chuckled because it was kind of funny. I said, well, I'm not bleeding. I guess I'm fine. And in my mind, I owned it and I got up. I never, because you're unconscious. That's not like I never was thinking my mother. I was thinking, oh my God, I have a mess out there. And now I'm lying on the floor. How am I ever going to do this? So I would, have to debate that. But if it wasn't for her saying get up, I probably would have fallen back into unconscious. And at that moment, it gave me that little extra push to go, yeah, you're right. I am fine. And with that, I said, okay, what's the game plan? What's happening? And that's when, that ended that situation.
I would say that falls under guardian angel, third man syndrome.
Third man syndrome.
And I believe guardian angel can be the spirit of a loved one that has crossed over.
Yep.
Doesn't have to be angelic in nature like an angel.
Yep.
But that's interesting. What you said, there was a couple of times.
There was a second one where I had an injection. There was a mole that they needed to remove off of my forehead, and they injected a medication that I happened to be allergic to, not knowing it. And then, so about an hour later, my eye was a little puffy, but I was like, I just got injected. It's not a big deal. They cut a little mole off, blah, blah, blah. So as the day kept going on, my face was getting a little more puffy. And so I, went into the doctor's office and I said, is this supposed to be happening? And they're like, well, maybe. It doesn't look that bad. And I'm like, yeah, on your face. That's my face. So she said that should all it should do. Just put an ice pack on it. And if there's a problem, either go to the emergency room or call us. But you should be fine. I said, okay. So it just kept swelling and now it's down my cheek a little bit further. And I'm like, well, it's just on one side. It wasn't anything. It's going to stop. So I go to bed, sound asleep. About 3:00 in the morning, I get I hear this woman's voice. Now it's not my mother's voice. It was a woman. It felt familiar. So it must've been a guide. And she said, Susan, Susan, it was so sweet. She was so nice. Wake up now. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to get up. I don't want to go to school, is what I remember saying. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to school. And she goes, and there was a pause. And then it turned. She said, Susan, get up. And I went, huh? It was like, oh, and I jumped up and then I went and I was like, okay, that was really weird. Why do I need to get up? And so I just was like, well, I'll go to the bathroom. When I went to the bathroom, turned the light on, the swelling was my whole face. It was going down to my throat. And I was like, holy moly, I got to get to the ER. This is not good before my throat closes. So it was so funny. They were so sweet to me. They're like, Susan, so angelic, get up now. And then, I mean, my mother never said that. So it wasn't like I was hearing or replaying a really happy moment from childhood, because that never happened. Not that she was mean, but that never happened. And then when she yelled, I was like, huh, get up. And so I drove myself, so stupid, drove myself with one eye to the ER, which is 30 minutes away. And yeah, they handled that. But that was another time. It was very interesting. Yeah.
Had you not been woken up, you probably would have died in your sleep.
Yep. Another 3 hours. I don't think I had another 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got another message from my vlog, Sunny11.
Mm-hmm.
And she's saying, Father Shawn, started watching you when you had my friend Brian Bowden on, sharing your podcast on my blog page. And, you know, he was just such a wonderful guest. That was last week. And thank you so much for sharing the podcast.
And I will tell her when he's coming back.
I think it's October 17th.
Yeah,
you're
I saw that.
absolutely right. October 17th.
Dun, da, da, da. Oh, that'll be good. That'll be a good one to watch.
And now she's asking if her father's spirit is visiting her, and if so, in what way?
Okay. So I'm going to ask. I'm not going to conjure him in, but I'm going to connect with her guides. He is around you. He is around you. He does visit. He's not there all the time. He comes and goes. Oh, that thunder is so cool. Shawn, we need to have that on more often. We need to like have pretend thunder. We'll blame it on Annette. Oh, Annette, what's the problem today?
Storms seem to follow Annette.
We don't get them here. So strange. So I'm seeing him in your kitchen. I don't know what that means. If he does stuff in the kitchen or he's there in the morning in your morning routine. But I'm seeing him in the kitchen, and it's usually around like the sunshine. He brings that sunshine. Or I don't know if that was his morning ritual. He's just saying that this is what I'm seeing. So either it's his ritual or he's hanging out with you in the morning. Usually if it's his ritual, he'll like to integrate it into your ritual. And that way then the two of you have this moment where you bond together. It's a special time. So yeah, if anybody wants to see anybody from their past, you can just ask. Not everybody's available, but you can ask. Just ask. I always say that. Did you ask? And they're like, oh, I forgot to ask. Yeah, just ask them. They love that you want that connection. And the veil is really thin. You hear that a lot, and I'm almost like too much, but it is. The veil is very thin. And so that communication is stronger than it probably could be ever before. So thank you for asking that question. Do you have anything else?
Really, really weird. I don't have anything else from the chat room, but I've had, I believe them to be spirit encounters in my sleep. I know people will say it's just a dream, but I feel like I can tell the real ones from the ones that are just a dream or a memory. And for example, with my grandmother, who I was seeing her in my dreams for like 2 weeks. And that was right before we saw our uncle in the ER. And he had kind of lost contact with us. He was doing very poorly and very sick. And then I understood that what she was showing me was to help him. But anyway, with my grandmother, the outline around her looked kind of sparkly, and she
Ooh,
could look younger and then older. And
I
I
love
saw her when she was younger than I ever knew her,
that.
and then back up to being old, and she was just changing while she was talking to me, and it was the coolest thing.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, those are so special. Those are great moments. And when we're stressed out or we're preoccupied, we don't notice them. So that's why having a relaxation techniques or calming and pulling yourself into a beautiful space, or even just taking a moment to, every time that you're grateful for something or something brings you joy, just put your hand over your heart. That brings that connection so much more. So someone says something dear to you, just hold that. I love those moments. And so that's going to bring that love light presence to you a lot faster. I love that. Oh, you know what I just read recently? Sam Kinison. Am I saying his name right?
Yep,
Hmm.
The
the
yeah,
comedian.
the comedian. He had a third man situation where when he was dying and he had an accident and his friends were there for some reason because they were maybe in another vehicle. I don't remember how he died, what the accident was. So sorry for half a story here,
Well,
but you
he
guys can
did
look it up.
eventually die from a head-on collision heading to Vegas, of all
That's
places.
what it was. Yes, very
Yeah.
true. Very true. Yes. So he was in a car. His friends were in another car. Clearly, they were separate because his friends rushed over to him, and I think he got thrown out of the vehicle. And he was having a conversation with someone. He's like, "No, I don't wanna die. I don't wanna go now. I don't wanna go yet." And then he paused. He looked like he was listening and having a conversation with somebody, and there was nobody there. And then he went, "Oh, okay." And then he said, "I guess I'll go then." And then he died. And his friends witnessed this. So it was really cool. He did not wanna go. He was not ready. It wasn't his time, he thought, and then they explained to him, "Well, it is your time. This is why." And then it was like, "Oh, that makes sense."
Yeah,
That
witnesses.
was a tragic story. Sonny is saying my father was a wonderful cook, and the kitchen was his favorite place in the house.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, see, he loved he's standing in there and he's standing in the sun. So that was your affirmation to know that that's him. That's his spot and that's where you'll find him. So
And
ask him to cook with you too. He would love that opportunity to join in and cook.
I love these stories, but I'd never heard of it called, what did you call it, Third Man?
Third man
Yeah.
syndrome.
Thermoran
I
Or
syndrome.
can't
third
remember.
man factor.
Oh, factor. Yeah, that's another name for it.
But
Yeah.
I'd heard stories like this, and they're fascinating. And kind of like Father Shawn, I thought most of the time it was angels, angelic intervention, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, here's what I find interesting. Two of the stories that I really found interesting when I was researching it uh, is these group witnesses. Like there was the several men trapped in the Antarctic, and they had to walk. They were walking in the wrong direction and eventually going to die. When
Right.
they all of a sudden, all of them noticed there was like there was a half a dozen of them. I think there was a seventh member to their team that
Hmm.
none of them knew, and they weren't alarmed by it. But
Interesting.
this
Cool.
seventh person was interacting with all of them and led them to safety. And when they finally got to this fishing village out in the middle of nowhere, he wasn't with them any longer, this seventh man, but the whole team saw and interacted with this person. And then there was another story of three hikers,
Mhm.
mountain climbers, that got trapped on a big mountain like Everest,
Mhm.
and they were all injured and going to die. Next thing you know, they had this fourth climber with them
So cool.
who took them away down to safety to a base camp. And they
Mhm.
all remembered this fourth climber that they didn't know. And when they finally got to base camp, he wasn't with them any longer. But the group witnesses, I think that would fall under. And you know what's funny? You wonder if that is sometimes that happens in these group ghost hunts where maybe
Ooh.
all of these people are afraid
Mhm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they're all thinking they want to see and experience the paranormal or a spirit, and
Mm-hmm.
now all of a sudden they all are having these experiences that maybe they are the ones conjuring up these hauntings at these alleged haunted locations.
Well, you want it so
Not
bad.
everyone. Yeah.
No, no, but
Yeah.
right. But you just ask, you're wanting, you're like, oh, please, I wish, because you walk around and they're like, oh, I want to see something scary. I want to see something scary. And then something happens. I mean, and anything is scary when you're in a dark room. So it's like, yeah.
Well,
And they,
guardian
oh, go
angel,
ahead.
my guardian angel, I've seen twice and heard once, and all three times they were situations where had I not received angelic help,
Hmm.
I probably would have died. But they happened years apart, um, and she looked the same and
Oh, neat.
sounded the same, so
Hmm.
that I just assumed, and I didn't recognize her as being a long lost family member or a relative from back in the day. So that's why I assumed. And she never changed. Years apart, she looked the same. So I just assumed that was a guardian angel. And they also say there's this rumor, um, and I've been told this by very psychically gifted people such as yourself. When you help some homeless people, sometimes you're helping angels.
Hmm. I believe that too. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what was I going to share? Oops, sorry. Oh, so my guy did say, and he wanted me to let everybody know that there is going to be more sightings, more ET stuff coming, and to not be afraid, to not feed into the fear mongering that has happened in the past, to keep it under wraps. Yes, there's some things that happened that may not have been kosher back then, but that's not what they were talking about. They were talking about you're going to be seeing more daytime visitations, and to be aware of that, just so to spend more time out at night looking up at the stars, because if you learn to recognize and be comfortable with that energy, then you won't be so shocked when it does happen, and it's going to happen. So just get used to that and get more used to seeing them during the day, because they are coming. And
Well, you know what my next question to you is going to be.
mhm.
Um, how many times do you think you've communicated with um, something that, like, you hear a lot of gifted psychic mediums talk about conversing with source,
Mhm.
and they will tell you sometimes they believe this source is extraterrestrial in nature, not so much angelic. I think it's all the same thing, to be honest with you. But
Mhm.
do you believe that any of the times that you've communicated with a source or an entity, did you ever get the feeling that it was not angelic and more extraterrestrial in nature, interdimensional, or something of that nature?
Yeah, I communicate with this one being um daily. Yeah, on a regular basis.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was recently showing me that there are um, there are volcanoes out west that are going to be problematic. But there's one spot which was really interesting, and I wish I wrote down the name because I'm horrible with names. But it's in Idaho. It's this mountain. It's not even anything fancy. It's just like a mountain, and underneath that, because I was like, oh, because they were saying that this mountain has been growing, and they weren't quite, they were just looking at it as being suspect, but it actually has a base underneath it. There's an underground base. Now I don't know if it's our base, their base, somebody's base, but there is a base underneath it, and that happened to be in this particular triangle. So they give me these little pieces. They let me sit with it, and then they come back and give me a little bit more. Um, but definitely sit outside. Sit outside. I have one of those lawn chairs you can lay way back and just get something comfy so that you can look up, be comfortable, ask to see um, benevolent people, benevolent civilizations, benevolent person that would come to talk to you. I call them people now. They're not really people, off-world people, um, and see what happens. Be open to it. Don't be afraid. You will be afraid. It's a little scary at first because it's something outside of the realm that we know and understand and are comfortable with. So we're not even comfortable with people from other countries coming into our into the United States. So you're not going to be very comfortable with someone from outer space. So that totally is blue, green, or purple. You know what I mean? You're not going to be okay with that, or doesn't looks like a reptile. You know, you're it's going to be. You have to get your brain around it, and the more you expose yourself to it, the easier it's going to be. Because in 6 years, I give it 6 years. It's game on. It's going to be. They're already living here amongst us.
I've
So,
I haven't had anybody really argue this point with me. I've always believed that have always been here.
mhm, mhm.
And
And you can be as weird as you want in Las Vegas, so no
yeah,
one's going to know the difference, right? They've been walking around Las Vegas for a
it's
long time, and there's a
Sharon
reason
and
for
I
it.
every morning. It's pitch black outside when I walk her to her car and put her briefcase and her supplies in there and say goodbye to her and make sure the cats aren't under the car or behind the car when she's backing out. We will sit there for a few minutes every morning and look up. And I have to tell you, 99.9% of the time, just about every morning, we see UFO activity above our
Yeah,
home.
love it. Yeah.
So I
And
agree
once
with
they
you
know,
100%.
they're drawn to that energy. You make a connection once or twice, they're going to be back. And consistency. So every Thursday night at 9 o'clock, go sit outside, or every morning at 4 o'clock, I'm outside. I look up, they're going to be there waiting for you. Yeah. I have there's a white cat coming through for you, Shawn.
Uh oh.
White kitty,
Uh
that's
oh.
passed. It was just saying hello.
Okay, well, it's right there, the ashes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's
Yeah, white kitty. When
that's
you were talking about
snowflake.
outside, white kitty was it's just a part of your routine. It was one of the more important kitties. So yeah, I think it was a female. Was it female? I'm not sure. It's hard to tell.
I don't remember if
Was it a boy
Snowflake
or a
was
girl?
a boy or a girl.
Yeah, I don't.
It's
It.
terrible of me not to remember that.
Yeah,
I
it's
think she
okay.
was a female. I think she was a female.
Regardless to that cat, it doesn't matter. But she had more of a dominant energy to her.
It
She
could have
was.
been. I'm. Sharon's gonna get home. She's gonna be so amazed that I don't remember
You're in
because
trouble.
she was an outdoor cat,
Yeah.
and uh, it's funny. Arrived at our doorstep as a little kitten. We don't know how it got there, so we just started taking care of her. And the cat we had at the time, which was a huge Russian gray,
Hmm.
tried to chase this kitten off, and it wouldn't matter what the bigger cat did, the little
Yeah.
kitten would not go away. And
No.
eventually they got real close, and that cat stayed here.
Oh.
And then one day the Russian blue just disappeared. We felt bad about that, but many, many, many years later, um, the snowflake started acting neurological, and we
Mm.
took her into the vet that Sharon still works at, and she had a tumor.
Oh.
And before we could even put her down,
Hmm.
um, she just passed.
She passed. She's
Um,
okay. She's
so
saying
we
she's
have her
fine now.
ashes
Not to
here,
worry.
and
Oh, I love that.
so I know that's exactly who that is.
Cool. Oh my God, has the time gone by too fast?
Yep. We have just like a minute or two before I got to kick you out of here. If there's anybody that just wants to ask Susan a question before I have to kick her out of here, now's your chance. You got to
All right,
type your
I'm going to pull a
question.
card. I'm going to pull a card for July. What is our July? What do we need to expect or look forward to for July? Never. So July is going to be difficult, but we knew that. Okay, can I ask why July is going to be difficult? Yeah, stay in. It's the Uranus-Mars situation. We didn't get to talk about that, but stay in. Now, I've been shuffling these, and that's the card that keeps pulling out. Interesting. Stay in, do things at home. If you don't have to go out and deal with people, don't, because that Uranus-Mars energy is aggressive, and people can be quick to anger and to violence. So avoid people for July. Sorry. Heard it
I
here
love
first.
you, Susan. You know
Love
I
you
love you, right?
guys.
Um,
Mhm.
Thank you,
we will be
Susan.
seeing you
Fastest
next
hour of the week.
the
Oh,
last
take
Friday of
care.
next month in July the 25th. You'll be back for another episode of Happy Medium Monthly.
Yep,
And I know you and I will be talking a lot between now and then. So have a wonderful,
definitely.
wonderful remainder to your weekend and have a happy 4th of July.
Thank you. All
I
right.
love you.
Love everybody. Thank you,
See you
everybody.
later. Bye
Bye.
bye. All right, Susan Ahearn, the Happy Medium, live from Cape Cod. She'll be back the last Friday of next month, the 25th. So if you're one of those people that are going to reach out to me in a few minutes and say I wanted to talk to her, but I chickened out, you'll get your chance again in a month. So get your question ready. Annette, I love you too. Are you have any big plans coming? Oh, next Friday, I know you and or Michelle will get together and look into the dark vault and pick out a really good classic episode to replay next Friday because it's 4th of July. We're going to do a replay. So I trust you'll pick out something really good. And then you and I will be back live on the 11th,
Nice.
2 weeks, and that your friend Jim Segala will be here.
Yay. And he's from,
Mystery at Blind Frog Ranch.
yes, he did that one and he did Skinwalker.
That's right. That's going to be a great episode. So
A very great episode. He's been doing all kinds of research and he wants to talk about it.
very, very cool. Have a
So,
wonderful remainder to your weekend. Have a wonderful 4th of July. I love you, and I
thank
will be
you.
talking to you soon.
Love everybody. Have a great weekend.
Good night. Annette Munich, Stellium Books. I think I cut her off there a little bit too soon. I'm sorry, Annette. All righty, guys. Today, the Catholic Church celebrates the solemnity of the most sacred heart of Jesus. So, a prayer for all of us. Oh, my Jesus, forgive us our sins, save us from the fires of hell. Bring all souls to heaven, especially those most in need of thy mercy. Most Sacred Heart of Jesus, have mercy on us. Most Sacred Heart of Jesus, have mercy on us. Most Sacred Heart of Jesus, have mercy on us. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Stay tuned for Spirit Switchboard with Carrie Lynn Shellhorn. And we're just getting started here on a Friday of High Strangeness on United Public Radio Network. If there's a sponsor out there, you want your name and your brand given a shout out live during the show, reach out to me. We can make that happen. I don't have a sponsor yet. I need a sponsor. So if you want to be a sponsor of the show, reach out to us. What else do I want to tell you guys? From the bottom of my heart, God bless you all for tuning in because I know I don't have a show without each and every one of you. And the show has grown so much since we started this. I'm just really grateful to Michelle DeRoche and Joe Montaldo from UPRN for making this happen. And thank you all for tuning in. I mean that, honestly. Remember, brothers and sisters, we may have done what the devil said we did, but we are not who the devil says we are. Everyone, please have a very blessed and safe 4th of July. We'll have a replay that day, but I'll see you in a couple of weeks on the 11th with Jim Segala. I love you all. God bless you all in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Peace.